From a finance perspective, where does global trade mostly impact performance?
Duties and tariffs is right now the big hitter. Previously I would have said, 10 years ago, I wouldn't even considered tariffs as really an important part. As a general rule, duties were fairly minimal for most companies and didn't have a huge impact. But in our environment we're in right now, with the trade wars and with the America First program, President Trump has put a lot of new tariffs and sections in place that make that a really important factor. And so it's really hitting chief financial officers' desks more than it did in the past. So I think that's one of the key areas. Also, the enforcement scenario right now is pretty intense. And for those companies that have been through these enforcement activities, the fines and penalties can be quite significant. And so, definitely financial officers want to make sure that risk is mitigated as best as possible.
Where do you find finance teams typically lack visibility?
I think one of the key ones is what is that duty impact proactively. So I think a lot of companies were a little surprised that all of a sudden these duties and tariffs showed up. They didn't know where they came from. And so I think, having good syncing between those divisions can definitely help, because they just oftentimes don't see or don't know until it's too late. There is also sometimes assumptions that are made by the accounting team around things like valuation or the duties and tariffs that they didn't confer with the trade compliance group in advance. And so again, those assumptions can be made, and that can drive some decisions that can actually create more risk instead of mitigating it.
So what kind of information helps finance teams make better decisions?
Clear visibility is always the most important thing. I am all about global trade data. I think that is really the secret. And if your global trade compliance team is actively leveraging internal and external data and creating meaningful reports that the finance team is involved in seeing, that's very, very helpful. Anymore, it's a necessity. Where I would have said before it was a luxury, now it's a necessity. The impacts of these tariffs on organizations have been, in some instances, astronomical, and to the point of actually causing businesses to go out of business due to the financial strain. So working collaboratively with that finance team and helping them understand and see that data and proactively forecast what that's going to look like in the future is the best way to mitigate those risks.